Welcome to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. I'm Mark Williams, joined by Shane Laflin. We appreciate you tuning in. This is our Prime East event recap show, and we got a loaded show for you today. We're going to talk players from the event, but joining us later for segments will be John Tate with WPA Bruins and Scott Johnson with West Virginia Thunder. And they both won a trophy. One trophy did make it home, and you'll get to see that later. Then we'll be joined by Dominque Nute with New Heights and Ashley Rivens with Team Curry. And then to wrap the show, we're bringing on Thomas Davis with Exodus. And so it is a slam-packed show, and we're excited, and thank you for tuning in. Great weekend this weekend, the Prime East event. There at Spooky Nook. Shout out to Matt Shockett and Select Events for their outstanding job in organizing the event and hosting the event. Just single thought from the weekend. If you could wrap it up in a little nugget, what'd you think?
Fantastic for getting into the region. The Prime event was big last year. Well, we wanted to do it this year. Obviously, it's a strange year. We're going to mention that a million times, but it's different. So being able to do that in another location with some easier travel. So the Prime event East set the tone. We're going to be able to do it in the future. We're going to be able to set it into different regions and do different things. I think that proved that. It was competitive. And first and foremost, it was competitive. People came to play hard. And coaches' feedback, whether it's college coaches or club coaches that played in or on the ground there, was that they knew they were playing not only for something they wanted to win, but every round it brought a level of sharpness, not only because of the matchups as you got deeper, but because, you're playing to continue to be on that winner's bracket, and it means more. And I just think that, that's important when you're competing. Sometimes when you play and you're not competing and it doesn't mean anything, I don't know if you think you're developing bad habits. So I think it's cool to have something like this every once in a while. Some things are for development, some things are for competition, and this was for competition. And just blown away with each bracket. The finals were great coaches, great players, well-represented organizations, well-run event. Shout out to, like you said, Shockett and Select Events for the nuts and bolts of the organization. We all know it's tireless work. But we were glad to be up there, spend some time together, and that was pretty cool. So can't thank everybody enough for supporting it, the idea, the theme, the vision of the Prime event. I think people are catching on. Got a lot of good feedback headed into this weekend with the Prime event, the original in Dallas.
Well, and I think compete is the one word, and we don't always have that in every tournament. You got pool play into a bracket, and we're going to kind of. But from the first game, and you'll hear that from the coaches that we talked to today, from the first game, you didn't want to be on the left side of the bracket. There was no gimme. You got to bring it each game, because if you lose, then you don't win. And so there's
Yogi Berra at his best.
Yes.
You lose, you don't win.
You lose, you don't win. There you go. And so there's something different about it. And so shout out to all the teams that came. Thanks for making it a great event. Thanks for bringing out and competing. And it was really great to watch all the teams play. Let's talk a little bit of players before we get to the interviews. 2022s. We're going to hit 22s, 23s, 24s. Some players that stuck out to you in the 2022 class.
22 class. We've got a long list, and we're going to compile that report. And I'll be honest, I've been prepping for Prime event in Dallas. So my players are in, but my evals are not. So I will be doing that soon. I have to tell a couple college coaches I'll be getting that to them hopefully by Friday. Well, yours are done, mine are not. Make that on the record. But I line up Tabitha Amanze, New Jersey Demons, who we watched over the last few years. I think I first saw her at a She Got Game event 2 years ago with Blair Academy, as a really raw athlete who had every intention to try and be such a great teammate and do what she was told to do, soaking up coaching. She's continued to play well. Rich Leary does a great job promoting them, coaching them, player developing. He's got a great coach and Coach Flaherty on his bench there, that they do a lot of work. They've been working out outside, in the East, because not a lot of gyms are open. and she's got a lefty jump hook, righty jump hook. She's undeniably athletic, and she's playing with IQ. They're teaching her the game. She's learning the game. And I like where it's headed. There's some rawness still, but you just love the heart, and then couple that with the athleticism, and you're in good shape. And then Mari Russell from All Ohio is just a player that really stood out to me. That team plays really hard and they guard, and then she just was one of the ones who really set the tone on them on the offensive end for them. So just one that really I came away with a little bit of I've heard about her, seen her a little bit, walked away with a really good impression of where she's headed.
Absolutely. And two outstanding players for me. Two kids that I saw first was like the very first game of the event, and walked in, and it was on, I think, court 3, but Allie Carmen there with New Jersey Shore Shots. You can't miss her because she's 6'5", but was super impressed with her work, and especially working for a position in the low post and working her girl high to spin low and using a swim move and changing her position in the low post. You don't always see that with kids at the high school level, but you could tell she's been developed, does a good job keeping the ball high, and can score in a couple different ways. And so, Allie's definitely a kid who caught my eye from the very jump from the very first game of the event. And another one is Maeve Mickerlin with the Comets, and they really a tough playing kid, a hardworking kid, and she just competes. She can play at all levels. She can play either guard position. But what I really loved about her most was her toughness and playing. And so, what about 2023s? For me, the 23 class, especially at this event, was really, really strong. But who are some 23s that caught your eye?
I'm going to start with Delaney Thomas from GTS Fusion. And I think, no secret, but a 23 who competed amongst, made it to the Final Four of the 17U bracket, competed amongst the highest level players that were there. Made some really clutch free throws to end the, I think, Elite 8 game against the Blazers. I think she went to the free throw line up 1, put them up 3, and then they got the ball back. And I think either she got fouled on a rebound or somehow she ended up with the ball again, made both free throws, really sealed the deal. Good hands, good poise to her, and just a good temperament as far as like playing in traffic and how to make the right play, passing out of a double, or maybe a situation wasn't good for her. A lot of upside there as she's developing, on the block and maybe some face-up game. But all the tools, and definitely frame and looks like mentality, well coached.
Absolutely.
And Katie. So, and then another one, one that stood out to me, maybe kind of on a different vibe, but Mary Ashley Groot from New Heights, kind of a jack of all trades, just an overall good player. Maybe about, 6 foot. I have to look up in the book again. I haven't studied these deeply yet, but I just watching. She's a great piece. She's a great compliment to Del Rosario down low, and just makes the right plays. And then when it needs to have a tough blue collar moment, we'll go do that. Needs to have a skilled moment, does that. So I look forward to seeing her again, whenever that may be. But those are the kind of players they're glue kids that make other people better. That I think we've got to make sure we celebrate, because we need those to keep the game growing.
Oh, absolutely. And for me, one kid that I saw was Mackenzie Nelson from Empire State Blue Flames, and they do a good job with their organization. A lot of good teams that compete, but she's at a different gear. Really, really great athlete. Has had really a good summer. Talking to a couple different people about her. But really impressed with her. And then Luis Bolker with Loudon Flights. I had never heard of Loudon Flight before, but got to catch them in the semifinals there of the 15U division. And a 6 foot forward, can shoot it, runs the floor. I believe her dad's the coach of the event, but just a really a smart kid, and a solid basketball player. So was glad I got to see her and really kind of interested to see what she looks like in the future. So what about 24s?
I'm gonna mention one. There was ones that got on the radar. I'm never one to oversell. You see them, you want to see them how they're doing as they progress. But certainly a few, handful got on my radar. But one that really caught my again, playing on the top team, so it was impressive. Team Rio, Michaela Blakes, athlete, good feel, aggressive and confident. So just want to keep watching. But there was some things that she did that. I said, this is a young player who's got some it factor to her.
Right.
Again, coupled with some really natural physical ability. It's just one that's, definitely want to keep watching.
Absolutely. And for me, I have two. And you tweeted about her, and probably one of the more impressive individual performances from the weekend was Kayomi McMiller from GTS Fusion. And, man – dude, you talk about how the ball on a string, and it was really impressive. She was impressive all weekend, but you got to see what she could do against Exodus. And that high level and high level players are going to, UNC, UCLA, UConn, high level programs, and you wouldn't have guessed she was a 24. Her ability to create, her ability to pass one-handed off the bounce was super impressive. Another kid to watch, and this is a West Coast kid, Tegan Colvin for the Northwest Blazers. She's a gritty point guard, really runs the show, can score. And so she's another 24 that caught my eye. Got to give it a little West Coast love. Northwest Blazers came all the way over to play this event. And so, man, there is a ton of talent from this event. I know I got in my evaluations. I think there's going to be over 100 players in the report just from this one event alone. And so, the live stream is still on Be the Beast. College coaches and fans can go watch that and see that. But really just, I know, a loaded event. And we once again, shout out to all the teams that came out and made it what it was. And so we appreciate the support of the event. So hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by John Tate for the WPA Bruins and Scott Johnson with West Virginia Thunder. So stay with us. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back from the break. Mark Williams, Shane Laflin. This is From the Baseline with Premier Basketball, and we are honored to have Scott Johnson with West Virginia Thunder and John Tate with WPA Bruins joining us. Gentlemen, how are we today?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, doing real well. Excited to be on.
Good. Well, we appreciate
John, if you knew you were going to be on a show, why'd you fire your driver today?
Well, you know what? He was getting out of line, so I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah, do what you
missed free throw. He missed some free throws. Got to go.
Probably, yep. That gets you fired around here.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, so y'all joined us this past weekend there at Spooky Nook for the Prime East. and you both went home with trophies. Now John went home with more trophies than Scott, but a great weekend overall. What was y'all's experience just overall from the weekend there at Prime Event East?
Well, Mark, I wanna stop you there for a second. You said we all went home with trophies. Well, actually, the trophy that I got, I think I left it in the hotel room. But we won the trophy. We just didn't go home with it. So, like, I'll pick it up next time I go up there.
Hey, don't shock it. We need a favor.
Shocking. Can you FedEx that to me? Can you ship that to me? That's awesome.
No, like our whole program enjoyed being up there. Like it was a collection of talent, and a lot of teams that we don't normally play was there, or we don't play in, like, you know, the Under Armour circuit. We have to go out and find different independent tournaments to play, man. You gave every game a meaning as far as, like, there's not pool play, so you can't, I mean, you have to win every game. If you have a bad game and you lose, you're moving to the left, and it's like, you know, to us, it would have ruined our weekend. Like, if we're not, you know, if all our teams aren't on Sunday in the Final Four, like, we've ruined our weekend. So you had to be geared in and locked in the whole time. And that's what that really excited me, because it gave us everybody a little bit more to play for. You know, the kid's going to play hard or whatever, regardless. But I really liked that about it. It was well ran. Everything was on time. Like, I had nothing but positive vibes back from the college coaches that watched the streaming. Great competition. It was just it was a good event. And I'm glad that we ended up going. I'm glad that we almost took home a trophy. Won a trophy, didn't take it home. So, but
yeah. Now,
still in the record books. It's all good.
It is all good. It is all good. Now, the Bruins went home with the championship in the 14U and the 15U division. Tell about and almost the 16U. Somebody else on the show prevented that one. But John, talk about just the overall from all your teams and the winning and being in championship games. What did that mean for your program?
It you know, just to really echo what Scott said, you know, not having an Under Armour circuit, you know, to play for this year. You know, we've been playing, you know what I mean, on and off since mid-July, but not having anything to play for, it was really different. You know what I mean? And then coming into this weekend, you know, with the bracket play, understanding that every game, you know, meant so much, determining if you're going right or left. It meant so much. It really, I know it juiced me up. I know it gave our players and coaches a little extra pep in their step. So it was really, you know, an enjoyable experience for all of us. And, you know, just like Scott said too, playing some different teams. You know, getting to see an Exodus, you know, an I-90 Elite, a Boo Williams, the Fairfax Stars, you know, Northwest Blazers in from Portland. You know, playing those teams, you know, for the first time, obviously this season, in some cases the first time ever, it was just a really well-run event. Really enjoyed it. You know, would have enjoyed it, you know, had we not had the success we had, because again, it was just good to play against some different teams, some high-quality clubs and programs, but really enjoyed it. And, you know, kudos to you guys for putting together, you know, along with Maddie, putting together a first-class event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, John. And you guys are both, and I was talking to Mark before we started, and it's just something I want to get in before we run out of time. I've never watched either one of your teams play when it wasn't fantastic team basketball. And we all know that's not the case everywhere around the country. You have a lot of the selfish moments and frustrating stuff. So twofold question. How do you go about developing that culture within your entire program through its entirety? Every time I've ever watched, whether I was recruiting or whether I was doing this stuff. And then how have you gotten such high quality coaches for every level? I mean, we're talking really good coaches. Scott, you and I joke all the time, and I think people hear us. Like, I'm like, don't give the Thunder the whiteboard. Don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to end up well for the other team all the time, you know? So just talk to me, you guys. Just how did you develop your culture? You've been doing this a long time. It's impressive. I appreciate it. And I wish more people would hold their programs to that standard.
Well, I think that once you start creating that culture, everybody just kind of buys in. But one thing for me is I recruit them type of kids. Like, yeah, and then I hold all of them accountable. They'll make some mistakes and they go in there and drive and don't kick. Well, I'm not scared to tell them. like, hey, pass the ball. Like, and I'll scream it where everybody in the stands hears it. And their mom and dad don't like it, pick up their ball and go somewhere else. You know, so like, so they've seen that over the years, you know, how we do things. And it's just the type of kid that we recruit. If I go out and watch a kid get 42 in a high school game and has 0 assists, I'm probably not recruiting them. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's not bringing them into what we do. And the toughest thing is, and Tate can talk about this in a second, is getting good coaches in your program. That's tough. That's, you know, the days when I was running around coaching 3 teams just to get kids. But I think over time, if you do stuff the right way, you know, and at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, like, if I couldn't coach, I couldn't get good coaches. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand what I'm doing, so that's going to attract, you know, better quality coaches to come aboard, because everybody wants to be in a car that they can learn something from. Just like me, like I always say, if you're the smartest man in the car, you're in the wrong car, you know? So Tate's fine. He got the little man back there in the backseat of his car. That guy's got to be, little man's smarter than Tate, so he's in the right car right there. But it's just that, like, I really put an emphasis on going out and finding guys that knew what they were doing and that could help me. And I learned from them. Like, it's, you know, it's not just all me. Like, at one time it was when I was over there by myself. But you see, as my knowledge of the game has increased, as I've added them people to the staff.
No doubt.
I mean, you know, for us, you know, we're pulling from 4 counties. You know what I mean? So it's got to be a culture buy-in. It's got to be, you know, we've got to play harder. We've got to be tougher. We've got to be more unselfish, because I can't go get an All-American from, you know, the other side of the state. Philadelphia is too far, right? And they've got too many options. Why would they come, you know, 4.5 hours to play for me when they could play for the Bells, you know, some of those teams in D.C., Books and Basketball, you know, New Jersey Sparks on that side of the state, right? And then you've got the other direction. I've got Scott. I've got, you know, all Ohio and you know, Sports City U. So we've got to work with, you know, the people that we've got in our area, and we've got to, you know, develop a culture that says, listen, you know, you're probably not going to be a McDonald's All-American, right? But that doesn't mean we can't teach you how to play the game the right way. We can't put you in position to show people what you can do and put you in position to play at the next level. So, you know, just like Scott said, we don't have a choice. We have to play the game the right way. We got to play a little bit better. We got to play a little bit tougher. We got to be a little bit more unselfish. You know what I mean? Than some of these programs that have a bigger footprint than us, and that gives us a chance to compete. In terms of getting great coaches, it's, you know, it's a lot like Scott said. You know, we want to attract. You know, I think one of the things that helps us to get players is that we have really good coaches. I've been fortunate. You know, for my money, Robert Cash is one of the best summer coaches, you know, on the circuit. You know, he takes the backseat to nobody. And, you know, Spencer Stefko, who coaches some of our middle school, coaches one of my middle school teams, is probably regarded as one of the best high school coaches in the country. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, we've been fortunate. I've got other great, really good coaches, you know, in the program as well. So we've been fortunate, I mean, from that aspect to, you know, get coaches who have the same mindset as we do, or as I do, in terms of the way the game should be played, unselfishly and hard at all times. And then, you know, we've gotten buy-in from our parents and families. And, you know, since we're pretty much the only really elite game in town, we can hold the elite players that we do get to a higher standard. You know, they don't get treated any different, because where are you going to go? Do you want to get in the car and go 4 hours the other direction to play for somebody else? Or, you know what I mean? So, you know, I didn't treat McKenna Marisa or Shatori Walker any different than I would any other kid. And, you know, they were, you know, McDonald's All-American type players. So I think that hold everybody accountable, getting buy-in from everybody, is what allows us to be successful over the long term.
Well, and I hope if people are paying attention, if it leads to winning at all levels, you can't be afraid to hold your players accountable. And you see a lot of people not willing to coach their top players hard, and then the first time they get coached hard is at the next level. So not only are you guys doing that and it's leading success of the levels of your teams, you're preparing them better for the next level because there's a level of expectation. So, I mean, that's that's huge. If real quick before we have to wrap, coming off the weekend, I mean, you guys, both programs with all ages had several standout players. I think, John, maybe the one that stood out the most to me and had some really clutch plays, Aislinn Malcolm was fantastic. And then, Scott, I know we visited a little bit after, and it's a little bit of maybe a fluid situation, but you're working. Kimora Johnson, and then you have a young Dariana Alexander that,
She's special.
in my eyes, we had seen some of the 22s and stuff, but Kimora was new there. And then, so maybe you guys can speak a little bit to maybe some players of your program, but maybe specifically those guys.
Yeah, well, I'll first start with the 2025 D. Alexander. Like, she can go. Like, she's like, I tell everybody, and I don't care about my former players listen to me or not, or my future players. Like, this kid is better than any kid I've ever coached. She's probably gonna be better than any kid I'm going to coach. Like maybe not, but like that's how
Papa's people grow up now.
Yeah, that might be a different story. She's in the other room right now. Yeah, like okay, yeah, I'm gonna take that back. But the kid is just special. Like, she's long. She can put the ball on the floor. She can shoot it. She's smart. She passes it, and she doesn't even carry herself like she's so much better than everybody else. Like, you can't tell. She's just a normal kid that kind of fits in, and that speaks volumes for her character and her mom, and everybody's had a hand in raising the kid. The Kimora Johnson, like, I didn't know she was that good. Like, I had no clue. I watched her probably 4 or 5 months ago in high school, and I didn't realize like the things she could do. She never got sped up. She's a big, strong body kid. She picked up on our system in an hour. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but we had an hour walkthrough before we started playing, and you couldn't tell that she hadn't played in a Thunder uniform before. Right. She made the right reads, the right decisions in crunch time. Like, I was super impressed with her. And her recruiting, as you see, and she just picked up 2 more offers since, when I was getting ready to start this call. So she's picked up 5. Kid had 0 high major offers, going into that weekend. She comes out with 5 high major offers.
I saw Ohio State yesterday. I haven't been on.
Yeah, so maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but I know Ohio State, WVU, Ole Miss, Virginia Tech. There's another one. I just can't think of it, I think. But anyways, the kid literally blew up right there in front of everybody's eyes. She was put in the right situations to make just what we was doing fit to her strengths. And it's really helped the kid, and I'm really happy for her and her family.
Good. Awesome. John, talk about Aislinn, yeah.
Yeah, Aislinn's got, she got on everybody's radar last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she got a handful of Power 5 offers. She's probably got, 25 or 30 offers altogether. But, she's an elite level scorer. Can really score the ball from all 3 levels. But I think the most impressive thing, just from getting a chance to be in the gym and being around the kid as long as I have been, is that she's such a great passer. I mean, she's a next level, on time, in the middle of her move, accurate passer, which is, I think, is something you don't see, you know what I mean, a lot. But yes, but she's an on-time, elite level passer that, has got, all, the only people we haven't heard from, regarding her would be like Notre Dame and UConn. We've heard from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think if her play continues, we'll hear from people on that level too. But she's got a chance to be really, really special. We're excited to have her. And on top of it, supportive of the program over the years, and that always helps.
Yeah. I don't know if you're getting there's your Rick Ross Wi-Fi kickback on. All right, we're good. We got him back. All right. Well, gentlemen, we really appreciate you coming on, rapping with us about Prime Event East. Doubly appreciative of the fact that you brought the whole stable through Prime Event East, represented the programs well. We'll do this again when we don't have a time crunch, and we'll talk hoops. We'll get Scott's whiteboard out and share some secrets.
There you go.
He runs all my stuff, by the way. Man, that's one of the that's one of the less known facts. He runs all.
I scouted the hell out of you, and I see some different stuff.
Yeah, I would say that's true, but I think his coach Robert Cash couldn't figure out some of that stuff on Sunday, so maybe he should have taught him and not taught me. That's just.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we're going to have to do this again. We have to bring Robert into
We will.
himself here.
We will.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, we
Thank you, guys.
appreciate you coming on with us. Hey, stay tuned after this break. We're going to be joined by Dominque Nute from New Heights and Ashley Rivens from Team Curry. So stay with us after this break. Welcome back from the break. Shane Laflin, Mark Williams. This is From the Baseline with Premier Basketball, and we're honored to have with us in this segment Dominque Nute from New Heights and Ashley Rivens with Team Curry. And so New York, North Carolina representing this weekend at Prime East event. Overall for y'all's teams, how was y'all's experience this weekend at the Prime East event?
Let you go first.
Cool. This was actually our first tournament of the entire summer, getting out there and playing. And I must say it was like definitely the best possible way to introduce some of our new teams to New Heights. I'm new to New Heights this year. I'm the brand new program director. So it was real cool to finally get the teams out there and play. So, we were super excited just to come to be around teams from our area, but also play teams we had never played before. I think, for our 16U team, we played 3 different teams that we have never seen before out on the circuit. So that was pretty cool. And just to be around the atmosphere. I know COVID happened and, it kind of shut everything down. And we had a lot of cool things planned for our organization this year to kind of relaunch and launch what we were doing at New Heights. So to finally get out there with our teams and showcase some of them, not all of them, but showcase some of them, we were just super excited to get out there. And I think the kids, their adrenaline was pumping and, a lot of things was going on in their heads because this was their first time getting out there. And some of them didn't know when was the next time they were going to get out there after that. So it was a great event. It felt like AAU. It felt like travel basketball, even with, no college coaches being there. You didn't get that feel that it wasn't there because every game that we had, there was crazy amounts of people at the game. So it was definitely a fun atmosphere to be a part of.
Yeah. So this is probably like our 4th tournament of the summer. So we actually been playing real great event. Our biggest thing is we always like to go somewhere and compete. And I always say to my girls, let's work hard. We play hard. We'll play anyone. And that's really what made us want to come and be a part. And it's always a good thing with the season being a little different, playing for something, right? Team Curry is our first year. So we hadn't really had the experience. I was independent last year as my first year officially being a head coach and being over a program. And we hadn't had the experience of really going and playing for something. So getting out there, competing against teams, of course, teams we haven't played, was great for our girls, and they enjoyed it. Great atmosphere. I think you guys did a great job of how the tournament was set up. So we enjoyed it, and we're definitely looking forward to next year. They talked about it on the way back. So
yeah, well, and hopefully next year, fingers crossed, we're back to some normalcy, and we can do some of those regional ones, and then kind of have the coming together of everybody, in a central location, really kick this thing off like we're doing this weekend in Texas. So, we can't be more thankful for you guys for coming to support the East one. And obviously Matt Shockett and Select Events did a fantastic job with the nuts and bolts of that operation. We all know that's the important part. So bringing them to the court. I mean, I like what you guys mentioned. I think you both kind of mentioned the sentiment of like matchups matter, especially, as we are starting to see, and there's been dialogue over the last few years about how much playing is kind of too much playing. So I think you want to make sure for the beginning of the season to the middle to the end, you want to make sure the games you're playing mean something, because you don't need to play all the time just to play. And both your programs, neither one of you play like that. You don't take it for granted. Your kids compete. I watched you guys on film, and I saw you guys, I think, at younger, or some of the players like a previous year at like a John Tate's event, the kickoff or whatever, or the tip off, excuse me. And they're just the growth of them. But like, I watched them on film before this, and I'm like, you walk in, you're like, look, you could tell they were good on film. It doesn't do it justice. The physicality, the speed, super impressive. So then, yeah, I mean, there was a buzz, right? And so, Ashley, I want to ask you first, just kind of like the deal with, okay, so Team Curry, that's going to draw some attention. How did that come about? And then just kind of what's your experience? You said you're relatively new into this, but we're looking at some serious success. So that's intriguing. How did it all come about?
Yeah, so Team Curry came about. It's very funny because Brandon Winters and Logan, I know them because I used to work part-time at a performance facility and they're of course over Pro Skills. And they reached out to me about the opportunity with Team Curry, and you can't say no to Curry, right? So I was an independent for 1 year, and I had a previous relationship with them. I actually coached one of their 6th grade teams a while ago. So I would say that this, in 2 years we've had success, but I've really been like North Carolina basketball. I moved back here about 2010. And I didn't know the girls. I didn't know any girls. No one could tell me anything about girls basketball. So I just started going to games. Mm-hmm. And I actually started a writing service. I had started coaching boys, and I always train kids. So mm-hmm. I think the credit our success is we have kids and families that truly buy in, and really, like, we work year round. So that's a big play into our success. And we have kids that really want to go and play at the next level, and they understand, like, we've got to get in the weight room. We've got to do extra work. We've got to study film. And when you get that full buy-in, that really, really helps a program become successful. And we're still new. Like I tell my kids, I'm still learning. Like, we're learning together. But we want to try to help keep North Carolina on the map a little more, especially Charlotte. Charlotte's a big region here, so we want to, and this girls that can play, so we want to keep coming, keep competing, and we want to play with the big dogs, right?
No doubt. Dom, you and I visited a little bit the other day, and you mentioned new director. From the outside looking in, the organization of it, the way in which it's presented, you've done a fantastic job with that, whether it's just branding or the way in which you guys carry about your business. And what's really unique to me is that new teams, new organizations, they'll get a collection of talent together, but teamwork and pieces, it's not always there because it's new, right? So no knock to anybody, but it's hard. Your group has a really unique foundation, and you've got really good pieces like role players, point guards, obviously a big and a point guard, it helps to start there. How did you go about building your team? And then just what was intriguing about becoming the director, and kind of what's your vision going forward?
I'll start with the team part first. Some of these kids I've had playing with me since they were in 6th grade. And, just to watch them grow from then. So now, like, them going into their sophomore year of high school, it's not always easy to keep kids together, especially in AAU grassroots travel basketball. So, I've always been big on, like, the culture aspect of how do you take things that work in a high school setting and make it work in, like, an actual AAU setting, grassroots basketball. So, some of the kids like Grace Sunback, Angelica Velez, they've been playing together since they were in 6th, 7th grade, along with Aaliyah Del Rosario. And, you know, Aaliyah in particular, she's 6'6", you know, and I think it's easy, you know, as guards to want to play with a big, like, oh, she's going to get all rebounds, she's going to get whatever. But Aaliyah is probably one of the most unselfish kids I've ever been a part of their growth. She's just a phenomenal kid. And, you know, the things that she's able to do out on the floor, it just makes it easier for any guards to want to come and play with her. And she's always sharing the basketball, sometimes too much. So you have those pieces. It's easy to kind of like add around them. You know, this year we added on Mary Ashley Groot, who's a 2023, and we're young. So, you know, part of taking over New Heights was making sure we, started young, but also make sure that we had the pieces that could take us somewhere very quickly, if that makes sense. So our 2023 group was, you know, it had a good foundation, but it was all about finding some other pieces that can go along with it. We added Janiyah Bland Fitzpatrick also to the group, who's a 2023 as well, who her athleticism is through the roof. And then, you know, it's just, you know, New Heights, you know, has been around for about 15 years. So it wasn't easy to sell kids on, hey, here's a great program who has a legacy within itself. So I think that was very, very important for me to start young, use the resources that we have at New Heights to kind of build this group up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And Mark, I think in person, this was the first time you saw a bunch of these players play. So I know you were super impressed. Kind of what were some of the things you came away with, like first impression wise?
Well, first impression, I mean, kids play hard. I mean, they compete, they get after it from both groups. You know, they really, really bought in on the defensive end and really wanted to get after it. And it started with your guard play, and it would be full court all the way there. And then their willingness to share the ball. The ball flowed. You made shots, it would get back to you, you know, pretty quickly. You hit 2 or 3, it was a flood. And y'all were both yelling at, why did you not pass her the ball? She just hit 3. What are you doing? But y'all do such a great job with those kids and just coaching them through the game. You can tell they're prepared coming in. You can tell that they know that their coach cares for them and that they care for their teammates. And it's just not about me getting a scholarship. It's about everybody getting a scholarship. And it's just fun to watch. You know, it's fun to watch when you got talented kids playing together and playing hard and playing for each other. And so both programs, the future is really, really bright, you know, in both programs. And, you know, it's going to be fun to watch. Not only it was fun to watch this weekend, but for years to come. Fun to watch, you know, those kids and continue what y'all do in developing the programs. So, I mean,
yeah, and I think that, you know, we've got with your group, you know, time will tell, but I think Dom, it's safe to say, you know, Del Rosario got a chance to be the best player in the class, and I'm not claiming that or declaring. I think it's too early for that. That gets a little nonsensical to me, but it's discussions only. Like I like the discussion. I don't like the declaration, I guess. But she has a chance. I mean, 6'7", good hands, good IQ. So there's a chance, right? So we're looking at, you know, somebody who's going to have a long career potentially. And I think an outstanding, obviously, with you, Ashley, I think Talasia Cooper was somebody that people knew going into this summer. But, and I don't use this word lightly, there is an eliteness to her athleticism and her footwork and her ability to quickly stop and change. It's hard to describe. I don't want to be corny, but it's like poetic. It's fluid. It's unreal. And I think that, again, people knew she was good, but it's like it's been molded and trimmed down, and it's like beautiful now. So, I mean, you're talking a top 10, you know, easily top 20 player, you know, for what that's worth. And talk to me maybe a little bit about what you've seen specifically in her development. Because, like I said, I think a lot of people, and this is what I say a lot, with there's a lot of people evaluating, or a lot of people out there with cameras and Twitter accounts, et cetera. It's not that hard to identify talent, but I don't think very many people can evaluate it in terms of improvement and growth. So I think it's easy. I think, and especially in women's basketball, I see a lot of guys say, she looks like a guy that I knew who played once, so she should just be better than girls. And I'm like, but you don't know how girls play. That's not a good comparison, right? So I think that, yeah, she was no secret from that, but there's been a refinement to the skill. So maybe over the last calendar year, what have you seen? And maybe, share some of those methods, because I think, not everybody's the same how they get through to kids and stuff like that. So I'm real curious about it.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, Talasia. So when we first met, it was actually back in November, and it was my coach at Cannon private school here, and we were down in Myrtle Beach, and we were playing in a tournament, and I met her, and she said, "Coach, I just want to get better. I want someone to hold me accountable, and I want to play at the next level, and I want to continue to grow, and I feel like I need someone to help me get there." So to me, when a kid says this, that I always tell kids and parents all the time, like, if a kid is telling me this, then they're for real, right? Because a parent can tell me this all the time, and the kid would be on they could be thinking something totally different. So I will tell you right now, from the first time she stepped on the floor with me until now, has been one of the biggest improvements I've ever seen, and it's just because she wanted to work and get better. She has some God-given gifts, right? And you cannot take it, you can't teach that, but she is still so raw. And she's very, like, a lot of things she tells me, she's like, I just learned it playing in the backyard. So we have really,
which works.
Which
works.
Yeah.
People hear that. We're talking about, like you said, there's God-given talent, but it's not like I'm going to rest on that. And then the element of what you just said is, it's one thing for the parents who had hindsight or maybe a few years on them. But when the kid takes ownership and says, no, I'm going to do this, I'm going to keep my head down, I'm not going to worry about this comparison.
Right.
Plus the fact that she's an elite athlete. I mean, I just want people to understand that's a simpler way to get it done. It doesn't have to be through this program, through this hashtag, it's like, those things are great. Don't get me wrong. But let's make sure we're not allowing them to say that's an arrival, right? Because again, it's just kind of the philosophy through this Prime event. And Dom, you and I have been talking and meeting and get to know each other over the last year. We always end up talking about, player development being about the basketball and the love of the game. And these kind of events, the philosophy with this event was play, not what does he think? What does he think? What do I think? Who cares? Toss the ball up. And like we joke, we'll be on the baseline with some of these guys, and some of them are good. Some of them get on your nerves. And my answer is always like, yo, you want to toss the ball up? We could do that. You know what I mean? Like, cause that's the way you should answer it in basketball,
Yeah, Shane would like to have a national evaluator tournament.
Oh, we don't want to do that.
Oh, nice.
Where we can roll out the ball against all these guys who are evaluators. And
I'm saying, like, if there's a discrepancy, it can be decided. And I don't necessarily mean like us. I mean, like, okay, guys, let's work together so they'll play against each other. Why argue over these nuances? I think we're gonna gain Don back here in a minute.
Yeah, she'll hop back on. We lost.
But no, I like that what you said. She was just like, I just want to keep it simple, and I want to go ahead and get better. And then it's valuable to hear that, just because it helps us, like when you're talking about projection, to hear how a kid went about doing it, and that maybe, crazy as it is to say, there's still some rawness there.
It is. She tries to stay with me from time to time. And I have a weight room here, and we get in the weight room, we get to the gym. So she definitely still has a lot more to work on, but just to see how talented she is and how talented she can become. I've been getting a lot of great feedback from college coaches saying that they're seeing it. And that's credit to her of putting in the work. Right. Mm-hmm. And she's willing to, she knows she still has a long way to go, and she's willing to keep working at it. So
no, that's fantastic. And obviously the rest of your roster, I want to give you a chance. I mean, Amaya Joyner, I think is gotten some people's attention. I've seen some offers come up, but the rest of your program is so, like I said, they compete so hard, and it's an elite speed about it. Do you guys do anything to enhance that footwork, or do anything? What have you been able to do? Or is it just like you found some athletes?
Well, it's really, so the way that I go about the team is, of course I have my core kids, but it all comes from leadership. So one of our unsung heroes, and I don't think she gets, she doesn't get the publicity like most, but she does a lot for this team, is one of my kids, number 2, Zaria Clark. Yep. And she's the leader of our team. And we get in the gym, and it's just like, hey, they know it's no nonsense. They, they know that outside of basketball, I'm there, we joke around and things. But when we get in the gym, we're playing at a pace that we want to play fast, but we want to play control. We want to be able to run sets. We have 3 different styles of defense that we have to go over continuously. So it's really, we didn't have a lot of time this year, because usually we break it down one by one. Like I break them down like they don't even know basketball. But we didn't get to do that this year. So I think that we picked on quick. We do a lot of conditioning as far as basketball conditioning, not a lot of track running, but a lot of like getting up and down the floor. And then of course we have some athletes and we have some kids that just like to compete and play hard. So that always plays a good role.
Yeah. And we'll wrap up here in a minute, but Dom, wanted to ask you, we were kind of talking about preparation, and you said, this was your first weekend to play. So what, you guys got together, I know, over a couple weekends, or had like a scrimmage weekend. What was the philosophy going in the plan, and kind of what was the outline of those weekends as far as time spent in the gym?
I think a lot of this summer has just been like just getting back into game shape. Like we had kids out of the country for about 3 months because of the COVID thing. And for me, they're young, and I didn't want kids to come and just jump right back into the play part of it and get hurt. Because as you said, like we have some really, really solid young kids, and we didn't want to risk it with some of them. So we spent about like maybe like 2 months just training, just working out, 4 or 5 hour sessions on the weekend to just get them back in that game shape. Like some of the kids were very limited in resources because of, parks being shut down in New York City, no gym. So it was very hard. Like kids were confined to their houses. And I just didn't want to put them right back out there and, them just look like really crazy, right? Like, so I think for me, getting some scrimmage games in, we did play some 17U teams leading up to the Prime event just to test it out, to see where we were. But it's nothing like that competitive, like playing for something, right? And I think once they stepped foot in the gym this weekend, it was this whole atmosphere of like, we're competing for something. And the adrenaline started to kick in, and everything that we had kind of worked on before kind of went out the window because, all the emotions and all of that stuff started to kick in. And inexperience, and you know what I mean? So I think it was just important for us to get them out there and just to get it out the way. And, who knows when they're going to step foot back on the floor for like a high school season here on the East Coast for us in New York and New Jersey. So, I was just excited just to get them back out there and be in the environment with teams that, we hadn't seen in a while.
Sure. Well, I think that's on a lot of levels, a learning experience for your group, right? So, I mean, if you didn't tell people that was your first event, no one would have just been like, yo, this is their first event. They look like it's their first event, so it was well prepped. The other cool thing is I think you guys did some outside workouts, right? So like shout out to that throwback, because like who doesn't want to go hoop outside? I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that. That sounds great after the Prime event. Like I'd love to go play outside for a week. I could be a kid, but and then I just think that, again, talking about earlier, maybe less play, more prep. So we're making sure we value the times that we get to play. And I think through the quarantine and some things, it gave us all a chance to kind of take a look at some different things. The way you're doing things, you have a chance to reevaluate some things, but maybe, we all remember to value that time in the gym, and we did miss it. And it was great to be around everybody. Great to see you. Great to give you a big hug when I saw you the other day. Like, it was just good to see your people. And so can't thank you guys enough for bringing teams through, making Prime East the first one out there, a success. Again, shout out to Shaka and his guys for all the nuts and bolts of the event. Great call on his part, and then we just went to work. So thank you guys for coming on. Definitely gonna keep the communication up. We'll talk again soon. Love to have coaches and just do this and have a free for all and have a visit. But I've got to get through Prime. We got to get through Prime this weekend. And I got to recover. So it's tough. So we'll be doing it. I mean, we're gonna have time. I think fortunately or unfortunately, this fall into the winter, I think we're gonna have time to talk hoops, host some virtual clinics. So those will be coming up. You guys will kind of see some opportunities for that. We'll be advertising and stuff like that soon. And then, of course, just get together, keep in touch, and share ideas and see what's going on. So thank you guys so much. We'll get this produced, I think, and we'll get it out hopefully by tomorrow, if not Friday morning. And Mark's the producer. I take no credit for that at all. No, appreciate you guys coming to the Prime event. You made it better. We'll make it better for the future, and we will. We definitely want to host you guys down at some of our stuff at some point as well, down in this area. That we got some teams who are very intrigued. Trust me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I thank you for having us on, and I appreciate it. And it was nice meeting you, Ashley.
Nice meeting you. Thank you all.
Welcome back from the break. Shane Laflin, Mark Williams. This is From the Baseline with Premier Basketball, and we are honored to have Thomas Davis, the director of Exodus out of New York, joining us. Thomas, we appreciate y'all coming out. You brought a couple teams out to the Prime East, the Prime Event East, and we're honored to have you with us. Overall, what was the experience of your organization there at the event?
Overall, it was great for us because we were able to. I was able personally to see, the different levels in our organization and kind of see where they were at the moment, especially for the kids who are playing right now. And then it was able for me to kind of, keep those competitive juices flowing to my older guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no question. And then, you guys won the 17U, took home the top bracket championship, handed some lumps out a little bit. And I would say, watching your team over the last few years, this is the team that's probably played the fastest. You're pressing. As far as speed, you've had talent depth, obviously, but speed depth, I think this is your deepest, fastest team. Formulating that thought, did you kind of know that was what you were going to do before you guys got into practice, and how did that evolve? And the players seem to love it. What kind of feedback have you gotten from them?
I just kind of try to figure out what works best for the kids that we have, and for the style of play that can kind of be more beneficial for us. We want to get up and down. We want to shoot threes. So playing fast kind of decoys everything else. It makes people race us to the rim, and that's fine because that's not what we're trying to get. We're trying to shoot threes anyway. So it kind of fits the style of play for us and the players that we have.
And I would have said going into the weekend, I knew, and I tweeted something like this during the weekend, two of the best offensive rebounding guards in the country, and then on the same team going into the weekend. And I would say in Dom Darius, who's proven to do that, Paris, since she first touched the basketball, I think the first thing she did was rebound a miss, because that's just what she does. And then I would say Destiny Adams this weekend with the motor. And once you had those three going, and then you've got Ducharme crashing now because you guys have just lended that energy to each other. Offensive rebounding wise, you guys were a terror this weekend. And so it fit play fast, but not like play fast and reckless. So not everybody can do that. And you guys got so much of a O-boards, not only just the putbacks or the fouls off putbacks, but the kick out, opened up threes. I just remember one. I think Dom got one, flipped it to Caroline. It barely touched her palm and it was gone. And she ripped that thing. And so is that – do you even talk about offensive boards? They just do it? Or like have they found the flow,
Well, you got to think about the team. One thing that we say is, look, you want to score on this team, you better go get it off the glass. The ball is going to come to your hand, but so much. So if you're kind of waiting around for us to pass you the ball and draw up this magic special play for you, then you're going to be waiting for a while. But I think when one player is being aggressive, it's like contagious, right? The next player is doing it, the next player is doing it. And they've done a great job of holding each other accountable and making each other play a different style of basketball. I would love to take the credit for it, but it ain't me.
Well, obviously, good points of emphasis. The one thing also I know about your team, they get there, they get on the floor to warm up. It's player-led, and you talk to them and you teach during the game. You don't have to say much because it's just points of emphasis and reminders, and they're individualized but collective as well. So there's obviously a camaraderie with your team that speaks to the leadership of maybe, I see a lot of it out of Dom. She talks a lot, and your return. Talk a little bit about the leadership of your group. I think it's very unique and special.
Bringing back like that strong, core. They got some blood in their mouth, right? They really wanted this season to happen. Like, if the season wasn't going to happen, they wanted us to create a season to happen. And, they wanted some revenge on what happened last year. They felt like they weren't able to really fully show who they were. Dom was coming of age at that point. Destiny was new on the scene, so it was like a fish coming out of water trying to figure out what that was. Caroline was coming back from everything she was coming back from. So they were kind of like anxious to get out there and just start playing. So they've been talking. We've been having these Zoom meetings and all of these different things since March. I mean, they've been ready to go, and they just they're like on a mission right now. They got a point to prove. I asked them about the Prime event. There was no question. It's like, we're going to win it. It wasn't even a negotiation,
Yeah. Which, and I want to mention, and I think, speaking of like coming of age and things, I think Ariel Jackson had a great weekend, and I think Kayleen Smichael had a great weekend. I think if there was any doubt, not doubt, but it's growth, right? So everybody's on their own race. If people are evaluating to watch, if Smichael was on that Power 5 level, I think she showed it this weekend. And
she got a chip.
Go ahead.
She got a chip on her shoulder. Like, she has a huge chip on her shoulder, and she's trying to prove a point. Like, you know what I mean? She has something that she's trying to prove. So I think the hardest part for her is like, can people see me as this player? And
she's playing hard. You don't have to look too hard.
Right.
Listen, I've been telling people. I was telling you about her. I was like, Shane Kiss Michael, I'm telling you right now.
She was coming because remember we talked after she got game, and I think that entire weekend she missed 2 threes or something crazy. So I'm sitting in the corner, right? I'm shocked at somebody else was by me. Her first 3 of the weekend at Prime Event East, she makes in a corner. I turn around, and I mean, obviously I haven't watched her play in a while, but I said, I haven't seen the kid miss a 3 in 8 months. Because the last time I watched her play live, actually I saw her, she got game, and then she shot it well at Rose Classic. So I'm like, I really don't remember her missing last. And then she stroked that 3, and then there was a she's, like you mentioned, the contagiousness of the energy. She was going to the glass. She was in passing lanes. Not that she didn't show that she could, but it was just more consistent. So you don't have to guess in the eval anymore. And so she did that herself. And I want players to hear that. Like, she did that. There was no someone fight for me, someone create this story. It's I played hard. I got in the lane. If you didn't think I could guard, if you didn't think I could do this, I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to do it twice. I'm going to do it over 5 games, And so that's what you're supposed to do, And
that's why it was so important for us to send that message game 1. It was not personal to any team we played. I made that very clear. The moment we touched the floor, we were not there to play against anybody but ourselves. And I was happy that they brought that energy. I'm like, and then you know what? You don't have a team like this every year. So when you get them, you got to have fun with them.
Right. And then obviously minutes are worth double, triple this year because, we try to make the Texas thing work, but it's just regional and that's the way it works. So they were hungry, ready to go, but kids are back in school, et cetera. So they were hungry. And, after that game, we were joking, we busted you a little bit or whatever. People were moaning and groaning. And I just said, hey, after the first 2 games, I said, man, how is it that you guys are that hungry? Like, why are you keeping on the gas? And you're like, your answer.
We're going to win the Prime event.
The answer was quite simple, which was like, they don't want to put their name in the hat. No. Like, we're mowing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that, for the region and who was there and who wasn't there, I think that there was a message to be sent, a little bit, because that it's about going out and getting the comp. It's not about who did what or who got who where. It's just like, let's get the right matchups. This helps them. So that's what I was most appreciative about the people who came, and understanding some circumstances kept people from coming. I totally get that. But some wouldn't hear.
Listen, we wanted everybody who should have been there to be there. And those who weren't there, they missed out on a good party. It was fun for us to play against the teams that was there, compete. I mean, to watch the coaches, just being in that environment and learning from other coaches, watching stuff that they were doing. I was walking around the whole weekend just watching games of every age group and just trying to pick things up from other coaches, learning different kind of sets and what. And then it was fun again to scout the people you play against and get prepared for those games. But the team, they wanted it too bad. I didn't really have to say much. I feel like I kind of stand there with a mask on the whole time, and they kind of just run the show.
Yeah, no, that was impressive. Player-led, you've done a great job leading them. Your film sessions, I got to peek in a film session during the real lockdown. They were so engaged. I got thank you messages from them, questions from them afterwards. Like that's next level. You're doing a great job prepping them. Want to thank you for coming on. We got a couple other guys coming on after you. We'll wrap. We'll have to do this again after kind of we settle down and see what happens. Get coaches in the room and just visit a little bit, talk about what the winter's even going to look like, So, well, I appreciate you, man. You guys stay healthy. Congratulations on the recent engagement. So,
man. Dude,
there we go.
I got 2 trophies in 1 week.
Two trophies in 1 weekend. There you go.
That's
awesome.
There we go. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. We'll make sure to tag Erin in this so she knows.
All right.
So she gets a shout out. So
yeah.
Hey, thanks to Thomas. Stay tuned after this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to From the Baseline Premier Basketball. Mark Williams, Shane Laflin. Man, we appreciate all of our guests that have joined us. John Tate with WPA Bruins, Scott Johnson, West Virginia Thunder, Dom Nute with New Heights, Ashley Rivens with Team Curry, and Thomas Davis with Exodus. And so we appreciate all y'all hopping on to the show and joining us and stuff. Big week. We're in the middle of Prime Week. Next episode will be the Prime event preview. And so we appreciate you tuning in. You want to stay in the know and know when the next episode, make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at PBR Hoops. And you can stay in the know with everything with PBR. So for Shane Laflin, I'm Mark Williams. Thanks for tuning in. We're coming to you from the baseline.